is this? Tabletop Island, huh? Let's see what this is all about.
You're making big mistake for coming here.
What did you say?
I want to suck your blood.
Oh, so you're a vampire.
Why, yes I am.
I'm gonna make this easy for you. Stay there and we won't have any problems.
What makes you think I'm afraid of you?
Because the board says you can only move in one direction. And I think this might make you feel differently.
Whoa, buddy, I don't want any problems.
Neither do I. So me and my friends are gonna grab the princess, and I'm gonna need you to stay right there, or I'm gonna have to use this.
I'll be right here.
And Dracula, I'm gonna need you to drop the fake accent, okay? You're just replacing words to start with the letter V, and it's starting to piss me off. You got it?
I completely understand fake accents offend people this day and age. My apologies.
You got her? Yeah, we got her. Oh, thank you! Anytime, beautiful. See you, Dracula. Stay safe out there.
Welcome to Tabletop Island. I'm Bernardo, your host, and today we're going to be taking a look at the vintage board game. Wait for it, we got the Vampire game. This is by Waddingtons, and it came out in 1987. Yeah, that's an old one. But obviously, if you remember my awesome Halloween board game month, you'll realize why I dove into this one. I love horror-themed games, and I had to dive into this. But without getting ahead of myself, let's first take a look at the components. So you have first this really nice board. It is kind of that cartoony, art-drawn style to be expected with honestly a lot of vintage games, but more importantly with Waddington vintage games. They've paid a lot of attention to detail here. The village here where you end up starting, kind of the atmosphere around the castle. You have the little princess hanging out of it, the bats flying around it. The symbols are really well and easy to read. It's really well laid out. You have these player pawns, however, that are these really basic pieces here. Honestly, it doesn't really matter to me. Most of the time I'll complain when the component itself looks too basic, but I'll take this over a standee any day. So the fact that you're able to kind of pick it up and maneuver it effectively, that was honestly enough for me, especially for this game specifically because it's already given you a lot. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Then you have these nice token pieces which show princesses on it, which are really nice. Those go around the circle spot where you see the princesses hanging out of the kind of vampire castle or Transylvania, whatever. Then you have your kind of playing card pieces here which show garlic. The game comes with 4, you put 2 on each garlic spot there. It's really easy to follow. The board kind of tells you everything right off the jump. But these will be important in a moment because it can't be a vampire game without a Dracula. Holy crap, look at this dude. Why is this like the most outrageous toy component I've seen on a vintage game? It's so detailed for no reason. And his hat, I don't know why he would have it, or do I? Yes, if you pull off the hat, you actually see here that there's a stamp there. Look at that symbol, it's like a little bat. Which will represent a vampire bite. You would think they would have done a vampire bite symbol, but that doesn't really matter because the bat is cool. And if there is a stamper head, there is a stamper that comes with, or the ink pad I should say, which has its nice branding on it. Looks really nice, and honestly, this is from the original one. Now, if you ever get this game and you end up seeing that it's dried out, you can buy ink easily. You could even get a new sponge if it really came down to it, but this is honestly from 1987, so dang, it lasted long. Cool, and I didn't have to change any ink. Who knew? Because you don't use very much of the ink, so I guess I can understand that. But we'll talk about why that's important too. You start him off on the little spot here with the Dracula symbol. Man, look at that Dracula, he looks real derpy. But he goes right there, and the arrow points in the direction he can move, which is anti-clockwise, which he can only go in one direction. Now, when you're moving your player's pieces there, they can go in any direction. Now, as for how you move, you actually have 2 dice. Now, the dice itself, it comes with a few different ones, which is really smart because it really dictates the speed on how you play the game, because the black die actually moves Dracula on every turn, but the less amount of players that there are, because there could be player elimination, can actually maximize the die to make it so you move him a lot more frequently or a lot farther, which can be a lot more scaresome and make the game end a lot quicker. But let's talk about which dice that is exactly. So first, for a 4-player game, you're doing the 4-sided die. You got a lot of players, so it moving the least amount is the best. And then if you end up having 3 players, you roll the 6-sided die. Easy enough, normal die we're used to. Then if you end up at 2 players, you roll the 8-sided die, which means he gonna move a lot quicker and a lot more farther, because especially because I'm unlucky. Yeah. So you roll your red die along with whatever black die depending on how many players you're playing with, and you move in either one first. So you can move your pawn first or Dracula first, and we'll get into why that'll be important in a moment. But let's say you're moving through and you can choose what path you decide to go. You can go the path that can get you a piece of garlic, which is the longer path, but it can protect you from getting bit by the vampire, or you can go down the center, which is a faster route. So it really depends how brave you're feeling. What you're trying to do is get to the kind of Dracula symbol where he starts at and move across this little center path here that gets you to the princess. You don't have to get there by exact count. If it goes over, then you just stop there and you collect a princess. You don't backtrack, and that doesn't give you extra movement, so be aware of that. So now that you have your little princess token, you're trying to get it all the way back to your village starting point. Sounds easy, but again, Dracula's moving every turn. So if you end up on a spot with a bat, and again, Dracula can only stay in this section, and Dracula goes either past you or lands on your spot, well, you get bit. So one of 2 things happens. You can either give up a garlic token to not get bit, or if you don't have a garlic token, you get those little stamp bite, which they put on your hand. Super cool. However, it doesn't matter whether you had a garlic token or you get bit, you still go back to the village. Now, if you remember my review a while back for Bewitched, there was also a card that protected you in the game, those cherry blossom cards. Now, even though those protected you, you could stay in that spot. However, even though in this game the garlic can protect you, it still sends you back to start. So whether you had one to protect yourself or you didn't, you're still gonna go back to the village, which sets you back, and it can be a little annoying, but surprisingly doesn't overstay its welcome due to the fact that you swap out the die to allow Dracula to move quicker. And why will that be important? Because you're gonna frantically be going to be the first to get 2 princesses back to your village. Now, sounds easier said than done, but you gotta bring it all the way back. So if you get the princess and then Dracula still goes past you, you can give up a garlic token, but you still go back to the village and you still lose the princess, meaning you have to go all the way back to get it. Likewise, if you don't, you take a bite, go back to the village, and you don't get a princess. Both ways still kind of suck, so you want to avoid Dracula, which is why it's important the least amount of players that you play with has the larger die, and the more players you play with has the smaller die. Because if there's more players that are rolling the black die, that means Dracula will move a lot more frequently. While he could still potentially move 4, it'll be a lot less frequent. He won't be moving a crazy amount like 8 if you're doing 2 players. So you're working your way around to get there. Again, this little area is a safe spot towards the castle, but you can also choose to not move yourself. So you still have to move Dracula, but you can choose not to move yourself, which can be important in deciding, hey, look, I don't think I'm going to make it because he's already close to me and he can go in one direction only, and I'm never going to go the opposite direction because he'll catch up to me eventually, and then I'll be really screwed. And there's still a lot of really smart decision making that you still have to make, but there's still the randomness of rolling the die. So if that doesn't really leave a good taste in your mouth, this isn't going to be the kind of game for you, because yes, randomness is a factor, but man, do I enjoy it. It's easy to teach, it's fun for the whole family, and honestly, I love the theme so much. I like the horror vampire theme, and the Dracula, oh my gosh, the fact that it has a stamper built into it and utilizes it better than I Want to Bite Your Finger. Why would you own that game? I'm still upset that I own it. That's honestly all I have for you guys today. If you can find a good deal, again, I recommend it. I paid about $35. That's after shipping, so that was a pretty solid deal that I got it for. So if you can get a good deal on it, then I do recommend it, but don't pay a crazy high price for it. I'm sure there's a bunch of other games and even maybe some other Waddington games that might grab your liking more, but if it seems worth it to you and it's the kind of game you think you and your family will enjoy, then I highly recommend it. But honestly, that's all I have for you guys today. If you're interested in notifications, there's a bell up there somewhere or down there. Please like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate any feedback. I'm trying to make these videos more and more outrageous, and with your guys' help, I have been doing so. Monday, regular board game reviews. Wednesday, weekly updates / talks. And then on Friday is my vintage board game reviews. That is all I have for you guys today. I'll see you guys next time.